Good afternoon, everyone. Tashina Gonzalez here, your favorite holistic wellness coach. And I am here with a bonus live in the middle of the week because I did not want to wait until Friday for this to be my Feel Good Friday. And as usual, it is one of those things that I'm like, well, this is what I need to work on. So let me deep dive and do a little bit of research so that I can chat about this, remind myself of what the healthy thing is to do, and I'll share it with everybody else in case there's anyone else that needs this information. So today I'm actually talking about the benefits of crying. So as usual, as you hop on here, give me a wave, a hi, a hello. Let me know what city and state you are watching me from. And if you are watching the replay, no matter what venue later, Facebook, Instagram, or later on YouTube, hashtag replay to let me know you came by so I can say hi to you. So as you guys know, if you've been watching me, following me for a while, I had an extremely abusive childhood, and part of that emotional abuse being the oldest child, being a female with a strong personality, was having the attitude of never let them see you cry, right? Being strong, let me give you something to cry about type childhood, right? So I tend to not be the individual that cries. I hated at least crying in front of other people or appearing emotional just in general, right? And so in this past year, I've done a lot of emotional growth and probably cried more in this year than I have in the past 5 years, even though the past 5 years have been very emotional. But again, I tend to hold a lot of those emotions in. They tend to physically manifest with me via tension. Like I even still have a little bit of tension right now. And I try to do all my self-care stuff to help me work through that. But sometimes you need to just cry, right? So and yesterday, I had a funeral for those of you guys that have seen that, either my stories and stuff like that. And then just in the past couple weeks have been just a little bit overall emotional and things of that nature. So, and working in harmony with one of my last lives of, getting rid of this ultra independence, and making sure that you speak what's going on in your life. I notified some of my friends. I was like, hey, can you guys play with me a little bit when I get home for a couple hours? Put a time limit on that. We did a little karaoke, and then after that, like, I immediately saw something online. I was immediately triggered and had all these negative feelings. I was feeling overwhelmed and like I hadn't got through enough, and really almost feeling like a failure in a lot of stuff. And just having that mix of needing to do some grieving and all of that stuff. And I was able to find some music to listen to help me work through that all. But I had like a really like good long hard cry last night. And then again, just this morning, waking up and just moved slowly. Like I barely started my day, like probably a couple 3 hours ago, right? Like caught up on some stuff, like laying in bed, doing my stretches, caught up on some social media stuff, and just moved super slow through my morning and my day and stuff like that. But again, just thinking about, okay, I had a good cry last night. It did release a lot of tension. What is normal? Because for me, I didn't grow up knowing what normal was. And so reminding myself of the benefits and the importance and what is normal amount of crying, because I didn't grow up with a normal amount. And maybe I'm reaching normal now, maybe I'm not. So I'm on an awesome article on Healthline, which I usually do, want to consult experts. And first of all, talking about the benefits of crying. So crying is not weakness. It is not something you should be ashamed of. It is not something you should hold back. There are benefits to crying. So one, it detoxifies the body. So there's actually 3 types of tears. There's reflex tears, something gets near or in your eye, like dust, smoke, or debris. And then there's continuous tears that lubricate your eyes and help protect you from infection. And there's emotional tears, and that's what we're talking about. So emotional tears actually have many health benefits, where in continuous tears contain 98% water. Emotional tears contain stress hormones and other toxins. So researchers have theorized that crying flushes these things out of your system, though more research is needed in this area. Emotional tears help self-soothe. So crying may be one of your best mechanisms for self-soothing. Researchers have found that crying activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system helps your body rest and digest. The benefits aren't immediate, however. It may take several minutes of shedding tears before you feel the soothing effects of crying. So again, I know for sure that when I'm feeling extremely emotional and I'm having a hard time dealing with something, I feel it physically. I keep it inside, and so I definitely always feel physically better after crying. It dulls pain. So crying for long periods of time releases oxytocin and endogenous opioids, otherwise known as endorphins. These feel-good chemicals can help ease both physical and emotional pain. Once the endorphins are released, your body may go into somewhat of a numb stage. Oxytocin can give you a sense of calm or well-being. It's another example of how crying is self-soothing. Improves mood. Along with helping you ease pain, crying, specifically sobbing, which I definitely did last night. It was good, hard cry sobbing, may even lift your spirits. When you sob, you take in many quick breaths of cool air. Breathing in cooler air can help regulate and even lower the temperature of your brain. A cool brain is more pleasurable to your body and mind than a warm brain. As a result, your mood may improve after a sobbing episode. Rallies support. When you're feeling blue, crying is a way to let those around you know you're in need of support. So this is definitely one that I still have to work on because I still hate crying in front of other people. From the time you were a baby, crying has been an attachment behavior. Its function is in many ways to obtain comfort and care from others. In other words, it helps to build up your social support network when the going gets tough. Helps you recover from grief, which was, again, one of the things I needed last night. Grieving is a process. It involves periods of sorrow, numbness, guilt, and anger. Crying is particularly important during periods of grieving. It may help you process and accept the loss of a loved one. Everyone goes through the grieving process in different ways, and I have a series of videos that I did on this if you want more info. If you find that your crying is extreme or starting to interfere with your everyday life, it might be a good idea to check in with your doctor. And lastly, crying doesn't only happen in response to something sad. Sometimes you may cry when you're extremely happy, scared, or stressed. Research at University of Yale believe crying in this way may help to restore equilibrium. When you're incredibly happy or scared about something and cry, it may be your body's way to recover from experiencing such a strong emotion. So I don't cry when I'm happy. I do tend to cry when I'm stressed or scared. Now again, going back to this question of what's normal, when should you seek help? Crying in response to something that makes you happy or sad is normal and healthy. Don't shy away from shedding tears if you feel the need to release. Excessive crying is something you should chat about with your doctor, however. If crying starts to interfere with your everyday activities, it may be a sign of depression. Other symptoms of depression include feeling of sadness or hopelessness, feelings of irritability or frustration, changes in appetite or weight loss or gain, lack of energy, trouble sleeping or sleeping too much, unexplained aches or pains, thoughts of death or suicide. So if you have thoughts of self-harm, call your local emergency services immediately. If you live in the United States, you can also talk to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK, T-A-L-K. So, according to research, how much should you cry? Researchers at Tilburg University put crying under the microscope. Their results? On average, American women cry 3.5 times each month, while American men cry around 1.9 times each month. The averages by country vary considerably. The average in America is on the higher end of the spectrum. So, with that information, on Facebook, I posed the question as part of this, have you cried in the last 2 weeks? Because that's what's normal for both men and women. On average, women cry almost on a weekly basis, and that's healthy according to researchers. And for men, men cry every other week. That's what's healthy for men. So, again, as you watch the replay, I'd love to hear you put in the comments if you cried in the last 2 weeks or not. Or maybe that you're like me, who grew up with never let them see you cry, hold the emotions, and maybe there's something that you need to actively work on as well. And as usual, we never close it out without giving you some tips or tools and a little bit of extra. And as a great reminder of why you should use essential oils on a daily basis, they are connected to your limbic system and they are the best way to affect your emotions. So one of the best blends to always have, I always have this on hand, is Release, because this can be super helpful when you're feeling emotional blocks and when you're needing to release those emotions. As well as when I went to the funeral yesterday, I was able to use some of my other favorite ones to keep that balance, because we talked about how excessive crying and it interfering in your daily life could cause an issue. And so there's other uplifting ones that you can use to uplift your mood when you're in that sadness that would help you get through that, which is what I used yesterday. So as usual, thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget, if you have hopped on here late, then to let me know what city, state, or country you are hailing from, and hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. And before you close out, let me know, have you cried in the last 2 weeks? Or are you possibly like me and maybe need to work on generating a more healthy level and healthy thought process when it comes to crying? All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Have an amazing afternoon. Bye, guys.